Yes, welcome back, everybody, to The House List, my weekly podcast. My name is Peter Agostin. I'm the host and the producer of the show. I sit and talk to old friends in music and just people I'm interested in having a conversation with. And today's episode is no exception. I had a great time doing this with my very special guest, Kirby Dominant, old friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. So I'm definitely looking forward to sharing this conversation with y'all. If this is your first time tuning in, this is my weekly podcast. It's called The House List. You can subscribe on iTunes. It's also on SoundCloud. It's on the Stitcher app as well. So there are ways for you to check it out if you're just sort of stumbling into this. If you're a regular listener or a subscriber, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. This is a labor of love. We're doing this all kind of pro bono, DIY style, and the results have been fantastic. I'm loving it. It's feeling very fulfilling doing these for y'all, so I hope you guys appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in again and just spreading the word. I do ask that if you dig it, feel free to share it. Share it with friends. Cut and paste it. Post it if you have a blog or a website, or even just if you're on SoundCloud or on Twitter. Just repost it and send it around. You can catch us on Twitter at TheHouseListPod. So, with no further ado, my guest today, Kirby Dominant. If you know this cat, if you know this dude, then you really know his shit. And I've been a friend of Kirb's, and more importantly, a fan of his music for as long as I can remember, I feel like. But I met Kirby in 1999. I lived on the West Coast probably from 1998 to 2005. So I spent a large chunk of time out there. And it was an incredible period of time in my life, especially when it comes to music. And I was in film school. I was, if any of you are familiar with my old video series, Culturama, that's what I was doing then, as well as trying to make feature films. I was writing for magazines and eventually did my record label, Female Fun Records, all while I was, in college. And it was an incredible period of time in my late teens through my early 20s. And I met Kirby pretty early on in there. Now, I was familiar with his music leading up to that, but I'm pretty sure that his real debut album, Rapidalism, pretty much came out around the time that I first got there. And I've had the tape ever since, and I think he even gave it to me. And he was on one of the very first Culturama videos too, and I even have lots of footage of him performing all up and down the West Coast, and in Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and the Bay. So I've just always been kind of following his career. And if you're from the Bay, if you're from Northern California or the West Coast in general, then I think this will be a treat for you. For sure. And but the thing is, Kirby also lived in New York for a while. He lived in Detroit for a while. So the guy's been around. He's sort of led multiple lives, and we have a great conversation about his life. I thought it was amazing. He definitely was in the middle of this incredible birth of a scene of underground hip hop in the Bay Area. I was very privileged to be around for part of that, and a good portion of it. But I think Kirby would be synonymous with Telegraph Ave, with Hieroglyphics, Living Legends, Anticon, AC Alone, and Project Blowed, and this a whole slew of other artists that were all kind of coming up at this time or prolific during this period of time. Hobo Junction, Board Stiff. I mean, I could, of course, my man Z-Man. I could go on and on and on. But so we kind of track that, and we track his childhood, and we talk about stuff that I didn't even know about. in his life. It was really interesting. School, he went to UC Berkeley, and just it was dope. It was like two friends catching up. Now the thing is, me and Kirby hang out. Like, he's actually, I consider him a good friend. He's in and out of New York, and like, we hung out in a lot of different scenarios over the years. And it was funny, even leading up to this, I was looking at an old video that my homie Ming Hang from Grand Good had filmed when I was working at the Knitting Factory, booking the shows at the Knitting Factory. So in, I think, 2007, which is amazing, it was 10 years ago now, Kirby was in the midst of celebrating his 10-year anniversary in the rap game. And I don't really recall how this all fell into place, but I had a show with Daz Effects, J. Rue the Damager, Homeboy Sandman. I remember Peter Rosenberg was the host, and Kirby opened up the show. And this was at a period of time when he was promoting an EP called The Prostitute, which was more like his sort of experimental Chicago house foray. It was actually really dope. And if you can find it, it's very hard to find. I would say seek it out. And he performed on that show, and there was a video of it. It's on YouTube. But regardless, Kirby has had a prolific career. Honestly, I wish he had released even more music, because everything he does has got his own very unique, singular kind of style. And we talk about a lot about this stuff. And then even after the interview was done, he was telling me all types of things we didn't even cover. Like Ahmad Jamal, the iconic jazz pianist, was his manager for a while. And we go into this incredible story about Roy Hargrove too, and who, if you kind of get the snippet at the beginning of the show that I played, that was actually a collaboration that these two guys did for Kirby's album that came out in 06-07 called Star. So that's incredible too. So I'm just so happy we were able to do it. He was in and out of town, and I was able to link up with him. And I got to say, I was stoked to do it. I hope you guys dig it too. So without further ado, let's check out my conversation with my man, the one and only Kirby Dominant, here on The House List. Check it out, y'all. I met you in probably 1999, I'm pretty sure is when I met you. But you grew up in Stockton?
Yes.
Or in the general Bay Area?
Primarily, I was born in Oakland, and I lived there, I guess, as a kid till maybe about between, the Bay Area, between Oakland and San Jose and Vallejo, up in there, till maybe about 8. And then I moved to Stockton, and I was probably there for, a few years. And then I moved around a lot with my mom. She was kind of nomadic, and she would just pick us up she would leave every couple years, leave us with our dad, come back every couple years and take us for a couple years and then drop us back off, So I did that.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, 2 brothers. And
older or younger?
Younger.
So you're the oldest?
I'm the oldest. So I lived in Corpus Christi, Texas. I lived in San Bernardino. Yeah. Between like 9 and 13, I lived between Stockton, Texas, Corpus Christi, and San Bernardino.
Wow. Those are all pretty different places too.
Yeah.
I mean, different kinds of folks there.
Yeah. And then
My high school was in Stockton?
Everywhere.
Yeah? Oh, it was like that. So it was really...
I got to kind of think about this shit. I was moving around, man. But I mean... Stockton is the place that I kind of, they say where you lost your virginity, and you got your, whatever, did your first this or that. I would have to say Stockton would be that for me. But I moved around a lot. I went to high school in Stockton. I went to high school in Colton, California.
Colton. I don't think I've ever been there, but that's in that.
It's IE, Inland Empire.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much you want to know about my life story, but I
want to know everything. Man.
You know, when I guess the last, when I became a teenager, my mom wanted to leave again, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go. I just got some pussy, I'm kicking it, like I'm having fun. And plus, you are a circus. Like, I know how this is going to end. We're going to go somewhere. You might have a place and a job, and then you're going to start to drink, or you're going to start to do your drugs, or you just don't want to do shit with your life.
Yeah. By that time, you had already kind of figured out a pattern to...
Yeah. So I was good. But I don't know if she took my brothers, both of them. I think she took both of them, and she left. But I stayed. And, that probably happened. I started getting in trouble selling drugs, gangbanging, doing all kinds of shit from 13 till about 15, almost 16. And then I was playing with the gun. I shot my eye out. And then she came back kind of. All I remember her doing is she came to the hospital. She picked me up from the hospital. She bought me like Burger King, and then she left. That's all I really remember. And for whatever reason, I don't think I was bothered by it or anything. But
do you remember that day of the with the gun and all that? Like, how vivid is that to you now? Because that's obviously quite a while ago.
It was May 29, 1990. Yeah, I remember that shit like very, very vividly. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. I mean, it's a traumatic experience.
Very vividly. I was playing around with this. My friend had this gun and his brothers, and like, it was kind of like a BB gun with but we were fucking around putting bullets on it.
Wow. And
so he was shooting it from his inside the house with his hand out of the window. And he shot it, and it made a loud noise. My ass went outside with it and shot it. And so the shit just ricocheted everywhere and got in my eye and in my arm. Man. And I don't know why he was smart enough not to...
Oh, by shooting it from inside, he was shielding himself a little bit, right?
Yeah, he had his face against the wall, so... I remember...
Oh, yeah, because if you're putting a real bullet inside of something like that,
it was
obviously the outcome is going to be pretty unpredictable.
So, I don't even know what possessed me to do that. I wasn't even that kind of person, really. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what possessed me to do that. And I remember there was a dog, and I did it, and it hit my eye. And it wasn't really some traumatic shit like laying on the ground, having to be. It was just like, it didn't hurt. I just remember the dog barking, and I was fully like, oh shit, I was just more freaked out. And I went to the crib, went back into the house, and he looked at me, and he just looked crazy. He was like in shock. Right. And I was like, oh, what do you look at? What do you see? Wow. And I looked in the mirror, and I just was seeing this little tear of blood coming down, and I put my hand over my good eye, and I was blind in that eye. And that's when I started to freak out.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, we called the fucking hospital or whatever, and they came, and I was in Stockton, but somehow they took me to Sacramento, to Davis.
Wow, which is pretty far away, right?
It's about an hour. UC Davis Medical Center, which is a really good place, but I don't know why they took me there. Like, maybe Stockton hospitals were horrible, or I have no idea. Because it's not like they did anything great to me. I don't know. I wasn't in danger of dying. Right. It never really hurt. It just felt like a bad headache, And maybe I had some surgery. I really don't recall that. My eye looked normal at the time.
Right.
They gave me these eye drops, and I would take them and not take them.
Right.
And then slowly my eye just started to deteriorate and die, and now it looks like what it looks like now. Right. But at first it was normal, and I just couldn't see out of it. And but at this point I have
I mean, at 19, you're already out, I mean, you're out of school and all that.
No, I wasn't 19.
Oh, okay.
I was 14.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize.
1990.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow. I mean, so you're still a kid, you know?
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm a stupid kid. I hope at 19 I wouldn't do anything like that.
Right.
But, anyway,
So what happens to your life after that? I mean, you're, you know, like, you just pick back up?
I mean, you know, I had things in my head. I thought about, you know, maybe going to straight and narrow or whatever. I worried about if girls would think that I was still cute because I was very handsome guy back then. And, you know, I had chicks fighting over a player at the mall. That used to be the shit, you know.
Right.
I was the man. But, you know, I used to wear eye patch. You know, and really the girls liked me even more. They thought I was hood, you know. I was a little dangerous looking, you know. But I just had the confidence, you know. It didn't really, give me a complex, you know. I mean, I think about my upbringing and all of the shit that I went through and just my living situations, you know. I've been homeless, you know what I'm saying. I was surrounded by a lot of drug addicts, you know. My uncles and them are all drug addicts. I sold crack and everything. I did it all, you know. I still came out pretty mentally healthy.
Yeah,
you know?
I'd say, yeah.
Very confident. I was always a popular person. I always got along with people. I never had problems with women, you know.
When did the music start coming into the picture? Because I mean, that must have been not that long after, right? If it was in high school. I
would have to say I got my first taste of music back when I was 10 years old. So that would have probably been 1985. And that's when DARE came out, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education. So I was living in San Bernardino at the time. And
well, which is funny because I think that initiative was even started by the
first year.
Right.
It was started by Daryl Gates.
Exactly, yeah. I just finished watching
Chief Daryl Gates.
Yeah, I just finished the OJ Made in America documentary, which they talk about how his initiative of DARE, and he started SWAT and all that.
Yeah, he started SWAT, that Batarang shit. That's all him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you remember about DARE? I mean, obviously it was in schools. I remember it in school.
Yeah, it was the first year they implemented it, and they wanted us to do a little PSA rap about anti-drugs. So this lady came. I mean, a student's mother came in with the keyboard programming. I remember the little girl. Her name was Raina.
Okay.
And her mom came in. This nice little white lady. You know, you could tell that they were kind of like, looking back now, like I could tell they were kind of poor, like me. You know what I'm saying? And but she had this keyboard, man. She made this hot little beat though. This little hip hop beat. Right. You know what I'm saying? And they had an assembly. It was Emerton Elementary School. I think we were the Eagles. And we rapped in front of I highly doubt it was a whole school, but it was a pretty nice sized thing.
I'm sure it felt like the whole school.
It was pretty big. And so me, this guy named Mark Winfrey, and this other brother named Daryl, we made this rap. I think we had a little low glasses on. We had cordless mics. I remember that shit.
Even then.
Yo, we had cordless mics. And we wrote this little rap. My shit kind of sounded more like Run DMC.
Well, of course, yeah. And it's 85.
Yeah. So I was like, drugs are bad as you could see. I'll tell you one thing, they ain't down with me. I see people selling drugs all over the place. I'll tell you one thing, it's a disgrace. That's all I really remember. You could tell with the cadence.
Yes.
Reverend Run cadence. But from there, it sparked my interest. I always loved music. I mean, I remember I snuck into the movie theater in Oakland when I was 9. I was supposed to go see Popeye, but I went and saw Crush Groove.
Dope. And
I was just mesmerized, I remember being mesmerized by that movie. And, then I moved to Texas, and I didn't know shit. I was listening to fucking Jefferson Starship, Sarah, and shit.
Yeah, but I would think, to go from California to Corpus Christi.
Yeah,
in
so
the late '80s,
wasn't a lot going on. But when I moved back to San Bernardino, my cousins was like, "What?
Right.
You ain't heard of Fat Boy? You ain't heard of Cool Mo? Like, whatever they was doing."
Putting you on to.
Yeah, they started putting me on. So, I just love music, and I would collect it, dub shit off the radio. But it wasn't like at 10. I just started just rhyming like crazy.
Sure.
I just kind of liked it, and I think my brother had to do a dare rap one year or something for his thing, and I wrote his rap for him.
Oh.
But I really didn't. It would be fleeting, like little things. You know how sometimes when you're a kid, sometimes you draw, sometimes you wouldn't. It just depends on what you were doing. So,
and when it's like a school thing, it's almost like it's an assignment. It's just part of like the curriculum in a certain way.
Yeah. So I think like after that, around 13, I started to freestyle.
Okay.
And back then I think I was drinking alcohol around 14. 13, 14, I was drinking alcohol, like Cisco and shit. Nothing, not crazy, but sometimes we cut school and fucking, teenager shit. But, I remember I got high one time. I was 15, I got high. And I would freestyle. And my friends were just like, "You're fucking horrible." You know what I'm saying? Yes. They were just like, "Please shut up." Like,
I can't even see that.
I know you can't even imagine because I'm such a dope freestyler now. But, but slowly I started, I guess, get better because after a while, some years later, they would beg me to freestyle.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? And so that was my thing. So then, 13, 14, 15, like I said, I was getting in a lot of trouble. We were carjacking and just all kinds of shit. I ended up getting arrested. Then I had to move back down to San Bernardino area. But it was more like Colton. My mom was living in this small town called Grand Terrace, which is kind of by Riverside and Redlands and Rialto and all that shit over
such
there.
a unique part of California.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So there, when I got locked up, that's when I really started to really be into hip hop and write, because I would freestyle with the kids, when we were all out on the yard or whatever, it's juvenile,
right.
and I was good. I was crushing cats.
You were getting acknowledged there.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there, I don't remember having pieces of pencil and paper there.
Right.
So I wasn't writing, but I was making up shit in my head, trying to memorize it. I remember if you were good, you could get a radio in your cell.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, this is when Mama Said Knock You Out came out. And I just remember that song. I just thought it was really, really dope.
Yeah.
Although, Booming System's on that record, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this must have been right before I got locked up, because I heard that shit in Stockton. I was in this guy's car, and he had the Booming System, and he was playing it. I just remember driving down this long stretch of highway with fields and like some new development houses on the one side. And I'm sure those fields now are all houses now.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I just remember that ride. I was actually copping some dope from him, some crack. I was getting a double up.
To flip.
I was probably buying like $40 worth of dope, make me 80 or something. I remember he was driving me to the trap. What we didn't call it that then, but what did we call it?
It was the spot?
The spot, I guess, yeah. He was driving me to the spot, and I remember him playing that. I think I heard Booming System while I was in there, and Around the Way Girl, right? Same record?
I'm pretty certain, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was that's actually, looking back at LL's career, that album was
the best one.
Yeah.
That was the one.
Yeah, I think so, because it was like his bridge into a new chapter of an artist who's no longer like the teen heartthrob type guy. And stuff with Marley Marl was all like hardcore.
Yeah, very mature song.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But
so that
for
really
some
sets the
reason-
scene then.
Yeah, so but for some reason, you know, you could release a single all throughout the year, but
Sure.
whenever he released Mama Said Knock You Out, that's when it really took off. And that was after Booming System.
Right.
So I went about through the duration of that album, the marketing or the publicity of that album. Right. I was so dope. I got locked up, and I got released. So it happened all during the time of that Mama Said Knock You Out. So when I finally get out, and I was only in there for like 4 months or some shit, not too long.
It was long enough.
Yeah. So, oh man, another little weird thing about this story is, okay, so I was locked up. They made a decision to send me down from Stockton to San Bernardino County to be with my mom. And so I had to get transported.
All right.
So these two white guys, old white dudes or whatever, put me in a car, in a station wagon with the fucking metal on it, like a cop car. And,
right. Like a divider between the front and the back.
Yeah. And I was handcuffed, and I was in shackles, orange suit, all that.
By yourself?
By myself. It was just me and them. And they were just talking and not paying no attention to me, not asking me shit, nothing. But they were talking, and I remember them talking about how they saw this kid play basketball at this high school. He was a high school player, and he was just amazing, and he was going to be the greatest whatever at this, went to St. Joseph High School. He's like, I saw him play in Hayward and this, and he's like, well, what's the guy's name? He's like, it's Jason Kidd. He's going to be the shit, right? And I don't know why that always stuck in my head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
that's a trip.
So anyway, I'll get back to that later. I'll come back around to that. But so we drive down. They take me down. I get out, and I don't want to ever be in any more trouble. Like, I'm pretty much scared straight, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was just a product of my environment. I was doing what everyone else was doing, and no one was there to tell me any different. Like, all my family did drugs. Like, no one was making me go to school. Like, it wasn't that kind of household. They just fed me, and that was.
And you were just basically on your own otherwise.
Yeah. It was basically, and they love me, and this was my stepdad, my real father. I only met him 4 times. He wasn't particularly a deadbeat or anything. Like, my mother was 19, he was 42.
Oh, wow.
And he was married, and she was his boss, what am I trying to say? He was her boss.
Right.
And, I guess they had some form of affair, and she was going to abort me, and he was like, nah, I don't have a son. I want a son.
Wow.
And he was like, I'll, give you money and whatever. And he did. He supported me.
Is he still around?
No, he died. So I guess technically I got 2 other sisters, which I'm not really much in contact with. I'm friends with one on Facebook. I ran into one of them last Christmas. She didn't like me. She didn't like the fact, I was an interloper into their family.
Sure, yeah.
So when he died, I went to the funeral, and they were like, your brother's here. And she's like, what brother? I don't have a brother. You know what I'm saying? And then at some point she found out, I was like doing well, or, I was educated and all this. Then she wanted to know me. But at that time, I was like, what?
Oh, later on.
I'm good. You know what I mean? Not like right at the funeral. She's like, he's this? Let me holler then. I'm like, nah. Well, my other sister, she got in touch with me when I was 16, and we talked a little bit, but we lost touch. I even went to her wedding. That's actually, I saw my dad there. The last time I saw him, he died a little after that. But, I went to the funeral. I'm grateful for life.
Sure, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm grateful you're...
You know what I mean? I got the check. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at you at all. It was no harm, no foul for me. I felt like, especially at the point, the life I have now, I mean, I can't blame anybody for anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not really. So, after I got out of juvenile hall, we lived in the middle of nowhere in Grand Terrace, this new city. I'm sure that city's probably full of apartments now, but back then it was a bunch of dirt roads and a bunch of, not dirt roads, but a bunch of big dirt plots with, now I'm sure they're full of apartments. But anyway, so when I was there, I used to listen to, I guess it was called KUCR, UC Riverside's radio station. And it came on Sunday nights and they would play the dope hip hop. And that's when I began to keep a rhyme book.
Okay, yes.
So I was 15.
So it's permeating in you right at that point.
Yeah. So that's when I started to write raps and I never stopped.
Right.
I probably still have my first rhyme book somewhere. Horrible raps, of course. But,
you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
At what point in time did you meet Pismo? Because this is like, obviously, it's a little bit further ahead, but I feel like, is he not, like, your guys' connection sort of was like your first little step into actually recording music, right?
No.
Had you already been, like, at what point did you set out to start doing that?
Well, I met Pismo because we're both from Stockton. So I knew Pismo in high school. We went to the same, I went there for like a week. I got kicked out. But, Piz, I knew Piz back in the day. He had the Jerry curl. I had one too. But Piz was a good kid. You know what I mean? He was like in fucking choir and shit. And, he went to school. His mom was damn near a minister. You know what I'm saying? So, he could sing and play and he was very popular, but I just knew him in the hallway. I don't even know how we even became friendly. Because we would just be like, hey, what's up? Because, in high school, you hang out with the burnouts, you hang out with the jocks. I knew a lot of people, but I don't really know how I knew Pismo like that. Because he was from the South Side. And there's two parts of the South Side.
This is of Stockton. Yeah, what's the makeup of that town in general?
So, the South Side, obviously, it's where the black people live. But there's two parts of it. It's split. So there's I guess, Southeast and Southwest. Even though we don't call it that.
Right.
But there just is two parts. And he lived on the Southwest or the Southeast, and I was more on the Southwest. So his junior high was on that other side. The junior highs were split. But the high school was central. Mm-hmm. So I went to Marshall. I always used to like that line when Corrupt used to say, when I was in junior high, going to Marshall. That used to be my shit, because I went to Marshall. But anyway, Pismo went to, I don't remember the name of the junior high he went to. I think he might have got bussed out. I think he went to Hamilton or some shit. I don't remember. But, so I didn't grow up with him. But although, actually, I take it back. When I was in 8, 9, we lived on the same part of town. I lived on like 7th Street. He lived on like 13th.
Okay, so you know each other.
But I didn't. But I don't think I still knew him then. But we did know him on the same side of town.
Right.
So I take that back as real young kids. But I didn't know him.
Yeah, because if you go back to the first tangible releases of yours as Kirby Dominant, like there was this sort of nucleus of artists that you were, I guess, most closely associated with, maybe, and I feel like. He obviously is connected to that, or Burnt Batch was connected to that. Yeah. And then you have your actual sort of crew of artists, if you will. Now, I might be I don't know how inaccurate this is, but with Comedic Sons, of course, and Fundamentals.
Yeah.
Those are two different entities.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of one, right?
Yeah. Fundamentals was a group within. Well, I'm not sure. I believe Fundamentals was just a group within the crew, kind of like how the Mystic Journeyman is in the Living Legends.
Right.
I believe that. That's what it was. But Fundamentals was around before I was.
Right. So were you even like when I mentioned those groups, like were you just sort of your own dude even then within the context of that, or was it really like you guys were all one kind of collective? Because you appeared on each other's songs.
As far as Comedic Sons is concerned?
Yeah, and all that. Yeah, that kind of group of guys.
Well, Comedic Sons was like a crew, and it was probably like 6 or 7 of us. But it was really like 4 main guys, and then we had a few Jerobies around, you know. But they wanted me to be involved in the crew. They already had it, or maybe they were saying we were starting this crew, and they asked me. And I was reluctant. I didn't really want to be down with a fucking crew like that.
Right. Because were you already doing your own music stuff at this point in time? Or?
Nah, not really. Just kind of demo-y tapes, 4-track shit, but not really because, you know, Concepts at the time produced most of my first record. Well, no, I don't remember. He produced a lot of it with me. You know, I would bring the samples through and tell him what I wanted, and he would do his thing. But so they were definitely
kind of hip hop MC or producer MC relationship at that time.
So he was the guy I was really trying to be close to. He was the real talent of the group, because I mean back then, I mean, producers were hard to find. Like, you knew a motherfucker who had that equipment and the know-how. So he was the guy. Everybody else just fucking rapping.
Yeah, the know-how particularly was a rare commodity back then. Yeah.
And, you know, I met, you know, he was going by Tariq back then, Concepts. I met him in Karma the same day at the radio station. And now that we're talking about Berkeley, we can get back to Jason Kidd, because I didn't think that I would end up going to the same school as this guy that they're talking about.
Right.
And I actually ended up going to high school with his sister, Denise Kidd.
Oh, okay.
You know, when I moved back to the Bay, but that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, so that was just a little small fun fact or coincidence or whatever. Right. When I heard his name, I had no idea that I would have something in common with that guy. I was in shackles at this point.
I know, that's incredible. Yeah.
So anyway, I just throw that out there. But I met Concepts in Karma the same day as I met Corey and Tommy from the Mystic Journeyman, and we were all friends. You know, we all was talking about music and exchanging tapes. I didn't have tapes then, but those guys did.
So if it was the same day, where was this?
This was at Calex in Berkeley.
Oh, all at the radio station.
Yeah, and then we went out.
Whose show was it?
It was, I don't know, man. I want to say it was Icewater's show, but I don't think DJ Icewater had a show back then.
Wasn't Billy Jam or something like that?
No, it wasn't Billy Jam, and it wasn't Oliver Wang, O-Dub rather.
Of course, yeah, who held down the show on Calex.
Fuck, man, I really don't know. And my other friend, The Rock, had a show. I really don't remember who it was. And
this, of course, is like the era when going to college radio, like as an MC or as a group, was like a very integral thing to promoting and performing, rhyming on the air. You know, it still exists, obviously, but I mean, in the mid '90s, I think that was the some of the most, you know, crucial times for hip hop artists that were, especially this underground hip hop that was permeating in the Bay, which had such a rich history of it too.
Oh yeah,
right?
Man.
Would you agree?
Oh, big time, man. I got very lucky with that, being there at that time. But Calex was very instrumental. I mean, in me being a freestyler and just nurturing my talent. And shit, actually, that's where I actually came up with my rap name.
Really?
On Calex. Yeah, because I used to just go by Kirby D. That was my old school rap name back in the day. You know, we had them names back then. Busy B, Kumo D. You know, I was Kirby D. And, you know, I was very influenced by, EPMD, Eric, and Parrish, and how they use their regular names.
Right.
I was pretty much just Kirby Dominant, you know, and then I used to always say Kirby Dominic is dominant, you know what I'm saying? And then I just kind of was like, oh, I should just be Kirby Dominant.
It works.
And I think it was mainly because I was very dominant on the mic. Like, people would freestyle and do their little thing, but when I came on, it was like a whole different story.
Right.
I was clearer, better, just
Yeah, your tenor on the mic is a lot more. Maybe it's a Scorpio thing,
Right.
You know, it could very well be, but it's you're a little more straight to your face with it, I guess. You know,
Yeah,
assertive.
I don't know, but that I just felt that, so I just came with that Kirby Dominant. So that's where I came up with that. But with the Journeyman and all those guys, we were all friends. They would come to my dorm room and freestyle, and Kevin Mingus would be there. Charles Mingus, his grandson.
Wow.
He went to Berkeley. He played on my first record. He would bring his bass and
amazing.
in my dorm room, and we'd be freestyling.
He was on Rapidalism.
Yep.
Amazing.
He was on Rapidalism. Kevin Mingus. I wonder where he is now. I think he goes by Ellington now. Mingus. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously, Rapidalism is the your debut album is still a little ways off from this period.
Yeah. So this was '94, and Rapidalism didn't come out until '98.
Yeah. So you're just honing your craft, becoming a real, actually recording stuff.
Yeah.
And now finally, associating and being around other artists.
Mm-hmm. And at this time, I was getting on people's records, like hearing, my fundamentals in them, and
Yes.
we did a few songs together, and people liked them, and more people started to really like what I was doing, and then I made the song Passenger 5150, and that's when everyone just loved me.
No, that's a giant record. I remember, I remember that was the bedrock of the show too.
Yeah, that was.
I love that song. I still love that song to this day.
And that's that. But the thing about that song, right? Because no one was doing like 5-minute straight raps with no chorus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and stuff that was that story driven.
Right.
It was that almost science fiction style, but like with your own sense of style.
Right.
There is maybe that stuff was happening, but without all the style involved.
Right. Right.
It's a great mix.
Yeah, I have to attribute like the storytelling and the subject matter to like the Mystic Journeyman. Like, they would rap about all kinds of stuff, and I didn't think you could do that. I was more of just a style rapper, like hieroglyphics was like my guys. Like I just love to style,
Yeah.
And it wasn't really about anything but just being dope.
Yeah, Mystic Journeyman had their sense of imagination too. With songwriting was way different than some of the the fellowship stuff.
I mean, those fools would rap about Vietnam vets coming home and dealing with PTSD.
Right.
Like I'm like, what the hell?
4001. That was their first.
Yeah, or like a friend who died, and you miss them, and like there wasn't a lot of that stuff, and so I started to try to tap into things like that. I mean,
what were those guys like when you first met them? What was their, because they're young guys at that time too, right? Like,
yeah, I guess. I mean, they were still older than me.
Okay.
Like, I think they're like 4 years older than me, but very Corey, who goes by Sunspot Jones now. He changed his name a few times back then, but
he was BFAT.
Yeah, but he was the one who was very encouraging to the whole scene. Like, I feel like he damn near single-handedly cultivated that scene, and he would throw these shows, and he would be like, I heard you got a new song. You're fucking coming. You're going to perform that song at the show, and he would force everyone to fucking do their shit. And make everybody get hype and just.
Well, Broke Ass Summer Jam too was, was a huge instrumental thing of bringing all those artists together too, right?
Yeah, he gave us a place to do our thing, And I remember doing Passenger 5150 at Broke Ass Summer Jam, and it was great. It was crowds of people, and
it was well received.
Yeah, and that was before when those scenes were like really. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just a lot of the community. It was all races there. A lot of black folks, women, men, Latin people. Everybody was there.
Right.
It was new. They didn't know because you couldn't really go to a show at 15, 16, 17, 18.
Right.
You had to be like 21.
Right.
For the most part.
And most of the shows were, for hip-hop at least, were big stadium.
Super huge shows. Right. So you could go. Now, I got to see, in Stockton, I saw Too Short perform when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Where was that at?
It's called the Stockton Civic Auditorium.
Oh, okay, wow.
They don't have shows there no more, but it still stands.
Oh, amazing.
I saw LL there with Roger and Zap.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. Wow. That was fucking amazing. So it was Roxanne Shante and Too Short. And
incredible.
Roxanne Shante, she was the first person I ever really seen freestyle live.
Oh, wow.
Somebody threw like a gum wrapper at her, and she just freestyled and killed them. And I just remember at the end, it was just like, and fuck your mother or some shit. Right. I just thought it was amazing. I was like, she just made that up right now. Right. Like, who would have thought, But that would be something that I really enjoy to do, and that was like one of my strong suits,
Yeah, you became to master it later.
Mm-hmm. And
speaking of some of the songs that you did during that time, do you remember? And I'm pretty certain this is of that era, but do you remember recording or how you recorded, or the evening or session or whatever when you did that song with the Grouch and Shingo, which is Car Troubles 2? Do you remember this joint that was on Don't Talk to Me, or one of his first albums?
Yeah. Oh God.
'Cause this is around that same time, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. Very horrible experience.
Was it? What, just the environment or something?
No. It was embarrassing for me.
What happened?
It was very embarrassing for me, and oh my God, I'm sure Grouch definitely remembers this. So, Grouch wanted me to be on this song, and I was excited. I think Shingo was on it too, right?
Yeah.
Shingo too, and we were going to do it. Well, we did it in I think Grouch's mother's basement in Alameda, and I just finished my midterms.
Okay.
And I was excited and whatever, load off, whatever. But I decided to hit the weed.
Okay, beforehand.
Yeah.
Right.
And I get super high. And I can't, I'm not stuck and can't do it, but I'm just fucking up.
Right.
Constantly. And I'm thinking drinking water is going to help me, man. I must have drunk a gallon of water. You know what I'm saying? Right. It was so bad. It was a nightmare. It was hands down the worst recording experience I ever faced.
Oh my God, right.
I learned that day, and this is a guy who's, the Grouch was, he was definitely more accomplished than me, so it was a big thing for me to be on it. And I embarrassed myself.
I'm sure he was pretty forgiving of that too. I mean, it made it to the album; it was still on the record, right?
Yeah,
so you can't really tell because I listened to it.
Well, who knows what he did, man? I mean, he couldn't have did a lot of Pro Tool-y bullshit because it wasn't then. But I don't know what he did.
He might have literally cut with a razor and taped it together.
Man, I can almost barely stand to hear that song.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yes. Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
I thought you bringing the shit up because you knew and you wanted me to
No, I had no idea.
Incriminate myself.
No, not at all. No, I just know that it was one of the earlier kind of collaborations you did, during that era.
Yeah.
And that you in the Legends and Missy Journeyman, you were that just the same as Comedic Sons and that kind of group of guys that you've always been connected to that group. I mean, as far as doing lots of shows with them and appearing on different songs, and of course Merce was on your on the first album, and later you have that. I went back to some of the stuff before we talked too, to refresh my mind. But there's even much later. There's that great song that you and Corey and Eclipse did called "Secrets" too. Which, do you remember this one? This is just on a tape, one of the compilations that you did. So
it was me, Equipto?
No, Eclipse 427.
Eclipse.
And Sunspot. Yeah, a song called Secrets. It's just, for for a completist of the Kirby Dominant catalog,
Dude, I do not remember that song. I mean, and it's so weird because I bet you if you, well, I don't want to bet myself too hard. I might be doing too much, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, if you hit me off with a line of it or something, I might could know the whole thing, but
I bet that I might not be able to do off the top of my head.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't remember that shit at all.
Because this is also like, that was like the era of, a lot of records were just coming out on tape, albums were coming out on tapes. And I think that culture too, I think existed the most, and maybe it's debatable, but in the Bay, where it was selling tapes. It was selling tapes on Telegraph. It was selling tapes hand to hand to Rasputin and Amoeba and on Hate Street and at shows and stuff. But particularly on Telegraph, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You did this, right?
Oh, yeah. Telegraph Ave. That was our stomping grounds. I mean, because you had 3 really good record stores right on a 3-block radius.
Right. So Amoeba, Rasputin,
and Leopold's.
Leopold's, right.
Which turned to Tower.
Right.
Which went out of business.
So now, but Amoeba and Rasputin still stand to this day, which is amazing and so encouraging.
Yeah, and that guy who owns Rasputin's owns the whole fucking Telegraph Avenue down there.
Wow.
Yeah, but
and of course you would go. I mean, for years people would go. Even when I did the Culturama videos and when I had Female Fun too, such a instrumental part of that culture, I feel like, was that you could go into Amoeba and be like, all right, I have 10 copies of my album, and they'll buy them, and you can get a burrito and a beer and a sack of weed, and that was it.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
It was good because you had those record stores there, so music lovers were there.
Yes.
So you could be like, hey, why don't you check me out? And going back to Pismo, he's the first person I really saw with a really nice professional tape.
Yes.
With the artwork and a shrink wrap, and he was out there selling his shit or taking it to Amoeba, and he had vinyl.
He did. Burnt batch. Right?
Yeah, man. I was like, God damn. I was super impressed, But anyway.
So then, post high school, just tell me briefly too, just that experience of going through, busting through school, catching up, and then being at UC Berkeley, because that's when I met you. You were either just graduated UC Berkeley, because it's 99 when I met you, I think, 98, 99. And, what was that? And that must have been a great change too, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't know anything about Berkeley. I didn't know it was this great school.
Right. It's just there. I mean,
it was
it's close
just there.
by.
I used to, when I went to Skyline, I would catch the bus to Amoeba and all of that and walk around Berkeley.
Right.
And, I kind of had a bigger Thomas complex. I was really afraid of white people, and, I didn't even think I could walk on the campus. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Right.
And, but this is at the time when people were walking around naked in Berkeley, and I was like, oh, these white folks is not so bad. They look crazy.
Right.
So I was like, it's close to Stockton. I was afraid of being away from home. I didn't want to go too far. I wanted to be in Oakland and all that because it was a very new experience for me. Sure. I didn't trust myself, and I didn't know what it was going to be for me. I was pretty intimidated. But I started in the summer. I aced my summer classes, and, I kept straight A's for a while until I started smoking weed a lot and just living.
Right.
And
that's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. So it's like you could either be a super nerd and not have a life and get straight A's, or you can kick it and get a 3-point something.
Right. It seems like that's it's like a divide between, it's like 50-50 of that in Berkeley, right?
So I ended up, and the thing about Berkeley is the scoring is cumulative. So you start off with an A, and if you don't keep an A, you never go back to an A. You know what I'm saying? If you get an A-, your GPA is now like a 3.8.
Wow.
And then, so it's cumulative. So over your whole years, it just keeps averaging your whole career. So I got up out of there with like a 3.1.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so it was cool.
But did you feel a lot of pressure there? I mean, is it a high-pressure school?
No. I would feel pressure initially, just for college in general. Didn't think I would make it. I didn't know. But as I learned, because, I didn't go to college prep classes, and I didn't have that kind of, so I was still rough around the edges. My grammar and, even the way I talked and enunciate. And but I had a teacher who wasn't going for that shit. Like in Summers Bridge, the summer course, her name was Oma Wally Fowles, and she was a stickler for the language, and it helped me a lot immensely for my music and stuff. And and even, you know, I learned how to talk and enunciate, and that helps me with my lyrics. You know, a lot of people...
Yeah, because if you listen to the records too, not to interrupt you, but I mean, you stylistically, you're able to use a lot of words. I mean, there's a lot of verbosity, there's a lot of lyricism in it, there's a lot of kind of... Which is also, I think, a part of the fabric of the history of some MCs in the Bay too. I mean, you're a great lyricist, you know?
Right. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and then I used to always want to be heard, like, because there's some rappers, you can't hear what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, why would I want to waste all this time rapping if no one understands me?
Right.
So I wanted to always be as clear as possible. That was very important to me, and still is, you know? So, what were we talking about?
Well, we were just talking about kind of, I wanted to get a little context of being at UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
I do want to get into a little bit more of the releases and stuff after that, because that's really when you're, you know, recording, you became a little more prolific at that point in time too.
So yeah, Berkeley helped a lot with the reading and the language and the learning and the vocabulary, and as far as Berkeley being tough or anything, you know, it wasn't hard at all. Once I got the hang of it after that first summer thing, I was killing it.
When did you graduate?
I graduated, I guess.
Did you graduate?
Yes, sir. Well, this is the thing. Okay, so I started in 94. I walked in 99.
Okay.
But I went to get my diploma 6 months later, and they were like, "You still have one more class." And I was like, "What? I didn't know that. I already started my life. I already went on tour in Canada and met Mocha Only, and like."
Things were starting
I wasn't thinking about school no more. I was moving around doing my thing, and like I tried to take the class again, and at Laney, but I just was busy.
Right.
And so one year a telecourse class came around where you could kind of do it remotely.
Right.
And so I was finally able to pass. It was just some science shit, like physical science class.
But when you say remotely, because this is obviously still, the internet is still pretty primitive, did you have to mail the shit in?
No, you just went to class like every 3 weeks or some shit.
Oh, wow.
So you get assignments and you have to do them and come in and take a test, but no real lectures, maybe once, so I could do the class. And it was okay class or whatever, but I ended up like getting the answers to the test and cheating and passing the class.
Right, there you go.
I'll be honest with you.
It's all good.
And this other guy,
got it done.
I met this other guy through there. He's actually a really, he became like somewhat of a popular photographer in the Bay Area.
Yeah?
Yeah, I won't put him on blast that he helped me cheat. He cheated with me. I was like, I got the answers. What's good? He was like, let me get those.
Let's do this.
So we went and photocopied them and, went our separate ways. So anyway.
After the caper, you went separate
so
ways.
he's my boy. Like, I know him now when I see him sometimes. I'm like, we cheated together. That's how you know each other.
Right.
But anyway, so I ended up not really and then I took the class, and then I forgot to put my name on the degree list. So then it lapsed a whole nother year. So my actual degree says 2001.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so some time went by.
Yeah. And I mean, I really didn't have a lot of time. I was living in New York. I feel like, no, that's not true. That's not true. But what I do remember, I did graduate, but I never picked up the diploma. That's what it was.
So you didn't walk or anything?
I did walk. I walked in 99.
Right.
Had the whole thing, because you could still walk. And what the crazy thing is, I had so many credits. I went to summer school every year. I think you needed like 180 to graduate. I had like 240 or 10.
Wow.
Like, it was just so stupid. I did not take that class. I don't know what happened. It just slipped. And I had advisors. My advisors, who's fucking Tajay's uncle, by the way.
Okay.
Nate Carroll. That motherfucker didn't, he was cool as shit, but he didn't hook me up. He didn't tell me, hey, you missing one.
Right.
So Tajay's mom actually taught at Berkeley too. And actually, Tajay did a workshop or seminar or whatever on e-commerce. Because you remember, he had the first e-commerce website.
Well, yeah, Hieroglyphics was, one of the very first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he came and did a whole thing about e-commerce, and then he said, soon everything's going to be, you're going to buy everything on a computer, even music. You're just going to be able to just download. I don't know if he said the word download. I don't even think it was. But I was like, what is this motherfucker talking about? I'm going to Leopold. I'm going to Rasputin. I need to hold it.
Yeah, I need some CDs.
Yeah, but he was right.
Tajay's always been a future thinker.
Yeah, that guy's a goddamn genius, man. I had lunch with him like a year ago, and the dude must have just ripped off at least like 10 different schemes to get rich.
Really?
Yes, 10 different little angles, and I was like, fuck. And I think he was probably doing them all right now simultaneously, he's an architect now.
Yes, he is.
Master. Like, he's just a brilliant fucking guy, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. I wanted to talk about sort of the history of your record label, too, because you've run a couple record labels. Mm-hmm. And with the debut album, Dominant Pimpin', what was the full title of the debut album?
Rapidalism, The Philosophies of Dominant Pimpin'.
Yes. Which came out on Rapidalism Records.
Well, it was
Dominant
Records initially, yes.
So, let's explain or track the history of those two, because they're from different eras of your career, too, right?
Mm-hmm. So, I guess Rapidalism was released in November 98. I was still in college. I actually pressed it up with some scholarship money I won.
Oh, nice.
I pressed it on the tape and CD, which was big back then, that I had a CD, because fools just had tapes then.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, so I had it on tape and CD, and I had a 12-inch.
Yes, you did. Microphone.
I had the 12-inch. Shingo 2 did the artwork.
Yeah,
shout out to him.
Coming out of your coming out of your mouth.
He did that artwork, and he did the Rapidalism album cover. He drew that and did the whole thing, and he did the conceptual dominance one too.
Yes, I know you see that kind of lurking.
Yeah, he did the layout, but yeah.
Shouts to Shingo too. He's super underrated.
Yeah,
artist.
he's the guy, man. Very smart guy, and he went to Berkeley.
Yes, I think I recall. Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a prolific career as a producer, and his stuff with Nujabes and Hideout Productions, all that was like a whole different chapter of his. So, yeah, that's cool. So then, how did that come about, basically? Or how did you decide, okay, well, I'm going to say this is my record label, and this is what the release is going to be?
Well, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
My major at Berkeley was urban economic development through the American Studies, School of American Studies. So I kind of was able to create my own major. It was out of economics, African American studies. I was into like city planning type stuff, but I also went to Haas School of Business, took classes there for like a minor. And, I wanted to run my own business.
Yeah. And
I wanted to have a record company and didn't want to work for anyone. And so that's how that started. Plus, you got the influence of, Mystic Journeyman and them doing a lot of DIY stuff. So
Outhouse and
we were all very encouraged to do our own shit. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of a no-brainer with that. And so that's what I did. And back then it was not as much competition.
Sure.
So if you put out something, most likely you'd be able to sell it. And at some point, independent music started to become all the rage.
Right.
And distributors were into it, and people started.
So and press started rolling, and magazines Urban magazines started writing about it. And,
so it was a good time. It was a good time for us to do that, for me to do that. And so I guess I released the Rapidalism stuff on Dominant Records, 1999. 1998, and then in 2000, me and Concepts, we got together and made Conceptual Dominance, and we released that.
Right.
And that was in 2000.
Right. And this is on the label too, right?
Yeah.
Great record. Slept on record for sure.
Yeah.
Conceptual Dominance.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Savage Intelligence. Had an amazing music video too.
Yeah, man. Actually, hung out with him last night. We went to Thundercat together.
That's what's up, and he runs a great record store here in New York City.
Good records.
Yes, sir.
So I'm really happy that we're still friends after all.
Yeah, that's amazing that you guys are still, and he's and that you like kind of led very different musical paths too. But he's a great producer. I don't know if he still produces as much as he did back in the day. But
we're actually working on a little kind of mixtapey thing.
Dope.
Right now.
Good, you should.
Called, Choosing Music.
I like it. I'm with that.
Yeah.
My joint on this, there's a couple of joints. Of course, I love the video was self-titled, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I love Rock the Disco. Black Anger was a great song with the Sadat X sample on it.
Oh, yeah.
New Growth was awesome, too. That was his solo joint on the record.
Yep. Great beat, right?
Yes, great beat, yeah. That's funny that you said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great record. This is an Amoeba classic. Always, you could always see this at Amoeba. I actually bought this at Amoeba.
And at Rasputin's, you remember how Rasputin's, and I don't know if Amoeba does it now, but I used to put the album covers outside on they were like little baby billboards.
Oh, yes, at Rasputin.
Yeah,
yes,
right?
In the window.
Yeah. And they have them outside, hanging outside of the...
Oh, yeah.
All around the whole building.
Right.
And we had one.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, it was like $500 for a month or something.
Was it? Oh, really? So it was like an ad space.
Yeah, it's like an ad space. Yeah, they wild out. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, we did. We were in... I had ads in... what is that? Thrasher magazine.
No way.
Yeah, that had a
Were you
Thrasher.
taking the ads out? You're running the label.
Yeah,
you took the ads out. You're running the label.
Ads out. Sunspot hooked me up with some ad plug.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So
those are the two main albums on the label at that time, right?
Yeah. And then I think after that, 2001, I had a business partner, Stephen Padmore. He used to go by Spony. Mm-hmm. He was the video director. Mm-hmm. So he's the one who did self-titled. Mm-hmm. And he came up with us changing the name of the record because he was just like, well, it's your name and you want to have a bigger umbrella. We're going to be releasing other things.
Right.
And he was just like, what about Rapitalism? And I was like, that sounds fucking great.
Yeah, and that was something you were branding that from all the shows too anyway.
Yeah, so he ran most of the label stuff. The marketing guy, he was a bit of an introvert. He didn't go out a lot and stuff like that. So he was the one who facilitated all the web presence, a lot of the graphics, all the art direction, the video stuff, and I basically just had to find the money.
Right.
And it worked out great. I mean, we did it together from probably 2000, even before that, because the album came out in 2000, and he shot the video. So we've probably been doing this shit since 99.
Right.
And we were partners from 99 to about 2006.
Okay. So when did Star come out? That was
2006. That was like the last release that me and him did together.
So that's your sophomore album that we're talking about too.
Right, exactly. And that had the DVD in it as well.
Yes, with
the
interview
package.
Yeah, I love that joint.
I mean, Steve did all of that shit, man. I couldn't have did any of that without him, man. And I really hate that we stopped working together, but we had a falling out a little bit. It was kind of sad, but more than that, though, that's not really why the label disillusioned per se. It was because I needed more things that he couldn't provide me.
Sure.
And I couldn't pay him a salary no more because he wasn't getting me what I wanted, which was more like, I believe at the time it was more like a distribution-y kind of more in the streets kind of promotion, or I really honestly don't even remember no more.
Yeah, broader.
It was like 10 years ago.
Right.
But we went our separate ways, and I think after that I put out. That was 2006. 2008, I put out the Prostitute EP.
Yes, it was a great slept-on project.
Yeah. They all kind of get slept on. But
what's funny?
Before that.
Yeah. What was
before Star?
Well, yes, I know what you're getting to.
Right.
Curb and Chris. Right?
Yeah.
Which was probably, I'm not going to say it's your most slept on, but it's probably the most notorious project
Yeah,
that you did.
yeah. And I mean, no, that shit got some traction though.
Yes, it did.
I mean, we were in Herb magazine. We were in Fader, and we were in Vice magazine. They had articles.
For people that might not know that, because it was a kind of a limited release. It was sort of a mixtape, if you will, but it was a produced album, a highly conceptual record.
Yeah.
So break down, people. I'm not going to say the title of the record. So you just break it all down for me, because I think half the people listening are going to really know this, and then half the people won't know at all, because it sort of existed at a certain period of time.
Right. Well, the album was a group duo effort with me, Kirby Dominant, and my buddy Chris Sinister, who actually, he used to be Hypnotic the Native Son, and he was in the Comedic Sons in my crew. And so he revamped his whole style, and we got together and did that. We were hanging out at the time, and we kind of both were kind of changing our musical trajectory. We got more into like rock, and he was playing the guitar, and I was really into new wave music and 80s music. And this is before the whole resurgence and
yeah, definitely
the mashup era and all of that. Like, I mean, I feel like I was the first one to kind of do that shit.
This is 06 or something.
This shit came out in 2005.
Wow. That was the year I moved to New York. It's 2005 from Humboldt.
Huh. Yeah, you were already here because I played you demo shit.
Right, and I remember you did a New York. This is before I worked at the Knitting Factory, but you did a release party at the Knitting Factory. It was like Roxy, Cottontail, and I think even Lewis Logic opened up. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the tap bar of the Knitting Factory.
I think this guy named Crunk or something.
Yes, Crunk Tesla.
Yeah.
I wonder. I used to see him around all the time. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah,
Dreads.
I think he moved to Atlanta or something.
Okay,
Virginia. But yeah, Crunk Tesla. I think.
Yes, very eccentric dude. He was a early Bushwick settler.
Right.
Bushwick was still the Wild West.
Yes.
That record's so dope, though.
Yeah. So anyway, Kirby and Chris. Oops. The album was called Niggas and White Girls, which is, pretty shocking, risque, attention-getting album. But, I mean, for us, it was the fact of life, lightweight. Because this is the thing, we were both black dudes. We are black dudes. And we would go to, like, the new wave night or the electronic night. And, there wouldn't be no black people there, really. Especially no black girls, and we would just be hollering at the chicks. You know what I'm saying? We ain't discriminating. You feel me? And in San Francisco, I mean, there's a lot of black dudes with white girls out there. And I came up with the title, and I think we were joking.
Yeah, it's tongue in cheek, obviously.
Yeah, we were joking, but then we like, you know what? Because I guess we kept fucking with people. We kept being like, yo, like we see people and they were like, what you up to now? Oh, we making an album. It's called Niggas and White Girls. And we would see their reaction and it would just be so funny or shocking or whatever. And we were just like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
We gotta do this.
Some of our friends were like, you guys are idiots. You know what I'm saying? Or you're fucking ignorant or whatever. Like, but, the concept was to take this new wave songs, the Smiths, the Cure, Depeche Mode, Ecstasy, all these songs we loved and liked and rhyme over them, and we kind of edited the songs to fit our liking, but there was no samples. We didn't add drums or kicks or different things over it. We just took the parts where there was no singing and we just kind of looped it.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything else. EQ'd it a little bit, and that's it.
Yeah.
And we made it a mixtape, so it was a continuous situation. DJ Icewater did it, who was my first DJ, who also went to UC Berkeley.
Who was on the debut album as well.
Yeah.
He's always been a collaborator of yours.
Yeah, he's always been around helping me out. I still go to him to this day.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I don't think I ever met him.
Oh, Ice? Oh, yeah. Well, his name's Ice. He's definitely cool. DJ Icewater, man. He's the guy, man. Shout out to that guy. He actually lived in New York for a number of years.
No way, really?
Mm-hmm. Right here I don't even know what you call that area. It's on Grand and DeKalb. It's right after Fort Greene. maybe it's Clinton Hill still. I don't know, but
he lived probably is Clinton Hill.
Yeah, he used to live right over there. He lived there for a number of years, and then he had a baby, and little RJ, and now he has another son. I just seen him on Instagram. So now he lives in LA, where he's from. Him and his wife or whatever. And I saw him. Did I see him or did I imagine that? I think I imagined that. I think I just called him. But I need to get up with him next time I'm in LA. But anyway, he I always go to him. He used to record me a lot. Right. Like he had a studio, and he used to do all this one-stop shop stuff, pressing up CDs, doing these the quick runoffs, and pressing T-shirts. He did all kinds of stuff. Him and his other boy, Hero.
DJ Hero.
Yeah.
Hero from Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, who did Mary Joy Records.
Yes.
Yes, he was and the Practice Video Magazine.
And that motherfucker can do anything. He does everything. And he knows everybody.
He does. I remember working with him a ton. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Me neither, but that's my guy. Yeah. I love Hero, man.
Shouts to Hero.
Out, man. That's my guy. I haven't seen him in forever.
He was a really cool dude, yeah.
But he knows everything.
Right.
And he's just like, I was telling him about recording a record one time, and he was just like, well, if you want to go to Minneapolis or something, I know the Pixies studio, you could use it. I'm like, how the fuck do you know the Pixies? You know what I'm saying? He just knows all these people on the low.
Right.
And so anyway, Icewater was doing stuff with him, and I would record there, and he would charge me $10 studio time an hour.
Amazing.
Still to this day, even before he moved, he was
grandfathered in for you now.
Yeah, he's just like, well, I don't really have a super setup, so 10 is cool,
Yeah. So jumping back to what we were talking about, with Kirby and Chris, and that was, the sort of the start of this new, semi-new chapter with you too.
Yeah.
You started putting out stuff. You were more in control of the records that you were putting out.
Yeah, too. Yeah. And the thing that I liked about that record is that, because I have a real horrible problem with making a lot of music and not releasing it.
Yeah.
But that record, it was like a baby. We conceived it, and it was out in 9 months.
Oh, amazing. Yeah,
and we had promo, and we pushed it, and it became kind of popular, at least locally too. And
it's a cult record.
Yeah, and I knew I couldn't release another record unless I was going to be really prepared to do that with it.
Right.
Or I couldn't expect anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about recording and releasing something quickly while it's still fresh in your mind.
But then we had all this other promo stuff to go with it. These trailers we put on the website, and we passed out promo stuff. We shot videos. We had T-shirts. We were doing the shows. It was just a great time. I don't really remember the record release part. Oh, yeah, I do. It was at Polang's. It was awesome.
In San Francisco, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Polang Lounge.
Yeah, but we just had so much fun with it. Man, we fucked so many girls at the time, and just threesomes, and it was wild. It was
So
wild.
What was the Prostitute record? That was your next foray into, it was like even going further past Kirby and Chris into more it was Chicago house. It was more dance type shit, right?
What it was for me, it was it was just an EP. I believe it was 6 songs. Most of that stuff I produced. So it was about me coming into it as a producer, doing what I wanted to do. And it was actually my 10-year anniversary of being in the rap game.
Yes.
From 98 to 2008. I had a really big birthday / record release / 10-year anniversary party. It fucking went for 12 hours. The party was 12 hours. I had 9 DJs.
This is in the Bay?
Food, yeah, West Oakland. This warehouse. It's called the Black New World Warehouse. It was owned by this guy named Marcel Diallo. He was buying up a lot of the property out in West Oakland back in the day. He ended up losing all of it or whatever, but he's living it. He's a phenomenal artist.
Really?
Poet, rapper, visual artist. He's doing this crazy shit with wood in New Orleans and making a living off of that. And he's I guess he's still out there surviving. But anyway, that was an awesome fucking time. And so
do you remember your New York performance for that? There's a video of it.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
It's so hilarious. I watched this right before we talked.
Didn't you hook that show up for me?
I think you happened to be coming through, and it was Das Effects.
It's like Das Effects and like J. Rue
the Damager.
It was crazy.
It's Das Effects, J. Rue the Damager. I think Homeboy Sandman as well.
Yeah.
And then and you there's a video of you doing a freestyling and then also of doing the song Prostitute.
Yeah, it was.
Which is such a great contrast to all those New York based artists too.
Right.
To come in, and I love that. I love stuff like that where it's kind of classic. It's kind of going back to seeing Too Short and Roxanne Shante in Stockton, where it's two completely different artists. They're still in the same genre, if you will, but and just being able to do it and people be entertained by it, and the crowd loved what you were doing too.
Yeah, did they?
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
really recall, but I'm glad. I remember the sound being very good, and I remember having a great time that night. A lot of friends were there, and it was just great. And Das Effects, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I love doing that show. That was a great memory, and just being that part of that tenure of working at the Knitting Factory was a fun one, because I think you might have come to a couple different ones possibly. I do have some flicks, because my man Photo Rob was the guy that took photos backstage, so there was definitely some documentation, because you dip in and out of New York. You're in New York a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah. Another huge part of your career as an artist is the stuff that you did with Factor. I mean, that's by far, like, you've done more records with him, album-wise at least, than anything else. And maybe there might be a certain, group of people that know you more for that than...
Definitely.
Because I know you from, like, your very first stuff, and your stuff obviously with Mocha Only too, and the shit on Ishkan's album, and stuff like the earliest stuff. And I love that because it has a lot of sentimental value to me too, because it's of a certain era that is... I love that era of music, of hip hop too, especially on the West Coast, because when I was living out there, was when I first came out there, was always made a great impression on me. The stuff with Factor is like something you guys have been consistently putting records out. So if you can, because I have the first one and the most recent one. But so just briefly, tell me.
And I bet you don't have the first one. You think you have the first one.
It's the one with the blue cover.
You do?
Yeah, the blue cover.
Wait a minute. Sorry, you have that one, right?
Yeah.
And you said you have the most recent one?
The recent one is the one with the trophy on the front. Right?
So you don't have Champagne Nightmares?
I don't know. I don't think so. Is that not the one that just came out last year?
No. I just find that funny because that's our most popular album.
Well, I don't really follow trends like that, my man.
Which I think is great that you don't have it.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Because obviously, you've gone to
have you ever seen the video Orca?
I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh my God,
that's the one in Vegas. There's one in Vegas, right?
No, not that one. Oh, well, that's great because you got something to look forward to.
Yeah, I like holding off until.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Sorry, go ahead.
So, what's the science behind the stuff with Factor? Factor, of course, is a producer, like a musician in Saskatchewan.
So I met Factor in December 2001.
Okay.
Sunspot Jones was going out to Canada for a show. And he told me where he was going. He was going to Saskatchewan. And I was like, whoa, I want to go there. Because Joni Mitchell's from there. And I'm a big Joni Mitchell fan. So I was like, please just tell the promoter. He doesn't have to pay me. Just put me up. Right. It's cool. I'll buy my own ticket. Whatever. I just want to go there.
Sure.
Dead of winter.
It gets cold up there.
Day after Christmas. It's probably like minus 20. Like, it's cold. And so I go there for basically New Year's. And this guy, this little pimply faced 19-year-old kid is throwing this show. He has a record store called No Static, and he's throwing this show. It's like me, Sunspot, Eli, and the Grouch.
Oh, great.
But Eli gets sick, so he doesn't even perform. But
he's up there with you, though.
He's there, though. He's there. He got the free health care and all that. And But the guy lost a lot of money on the show. And we
that
loved the
happens.
guy. He was such a great guy, and we had a good time. He was making his first album as a producer. And so we all did songs for him for his first record while we were there. Because, I mean, he put me in a hotel for like a week or some shit.
Wow, yeah.
And we had hella fun, fucked the girl, so, you know, it was a good time. I was not mad at Saskatoon. Actually met a girl there as well that up until like maybe 9 months ago, I thought I was going to marry her.
Really?
Yeah, I fell in love. We fell in love. And that was 2002, and we was still entertaining the idea until last year. I called her in October and was like, I think I found a better option. I'm going to rock with it. And she was like, well, I'm fucking happy for you. Now we know the door's closed. I'm actually very happy in my life.
Good.
So I'm wishing you well. Can I still call you sometimes? And I'm like, hell yeah. She's like,
Cool.
she ended up doing music. We ended up making a record together.
Really?
It never came out, but that's a whole nother story.
Interesting.
But anyway, back to Factor. So this little kid, his beats were okay. You know what I'm saying? He was very much into CTI sampling and, you know.
So it's kind of contained in that world.
Yeah, and you know, he got all these rappers, but I did a great song with him. It's called Saskatoon Pimpin'.
That was the first one you guys did.
First song we did together, and I still perform that song, but only in Saskatoon.
Oh yeah, how's it go over there?
Oh, they love it.
I bet.
So since then, he always, you know, he's the producer, so he makes the albums with a bunch of people on it or whatever, you know, collaborations with other vocalists, right? So he would always ask me to be on his records, and well, I guess I'm going a little bit ahead. So we did that, and then I started dating this girl. And then he said, hey, I heard you coming to Saskatoon for like Christmas time. I got some beats. You want to just do some stuff? And that's when we came up with Paranoid Castle, 2004. And I kind of helped him with the beats a little bit, played the keys on it, and just kind of coached him and stuff.
Yeah.
And, but over the years, he's just gotten ridiculously good.
He's evolved a lot.
He's evolved a whole lot, and now he doesn't need me at all. And you know, it's one of those things where, like me, I personally don't really think I'm better than anybody else. I never thought that, okay, maybe I'm a little higher or more popular than you, but I never felt like I needed to shit on anybody because you just don't know.
Yeah.
Like at that time, dude, that dude was not the best producer at all. Like. But now, like, he's saving my ass. Like, without him releasing my shit or us doing Paranoid Castle, man, I don't know where I'd be.
Well, yeah, I mean, he breathed a new life into something, you know, because you're running around. I mean, and especially because you're bouncing around a lot. It's not like, and everyone's life evolves. You're not the guy in Berkeley anymore. You're not around like that. So it's like, and recording and making music has changed a lot too since 99, 2000.
And it's kind of not been it's not even a super priority in my life anymore. Like, I'm fucking 41 years old. I'm not going to say like I missed my mark per se, but like certain other things have taken more precedent.
Of course.
You know, stability, family, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have that kind of luxury anymore to just like,
of course,
be piling around doing music all the fucking time. I just didn't build that cachet up for myself. I didn't have that machine for myself anymore. So I have to hustle and get money elsewhere and do whatever I gotta do, and it's fine with me. I'm happy. I don't regret it because I know I still got it. Plus, music's changed a lot, so it's like,
absolutely.
Fuck, how can I even get my footing in this shit?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that era that you would come from too is, you know, it has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of and it's kind of interesting to look back and see where, you know, the trajectory and the path of certain of those artists too of that time, and some continued to, I guess, progress or grow, and some either stopped altogether. Some kind of continued and plateaued and went a certain direction. And you know, sometimes if it's broke, don't fix it. That concept too. I mean, it applies across the board, you know.
Yeah, it's very interesting, you know, when you say about, you know, some people back then, some people kind of built their thing up to where they kind of got like a good momentum going, like the Legends or even Murs. He's still kind of relevant. Atmosphere is obviously bonkers, you know, like, but he's still just doing Atmosphere. He hasn't changed anything.
Right.
Like, they're all doing them, but they can still kind of be relevant and eat off of it. And, you know, they just made good moves.
Yes.
They had a team or whatever they did.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to the team.
Yeah, I didn't never have a team like that. An able-bodied amount of people.
Yeah. No man is an island. Does that apply here?
You know, and like the closest I had with the momentum is when I was working with Steve. After he left, I just didn't have the support.
Right.
You know, people to be like diligent and responsible and stuff like that. Because a lot of times I had the money and all of that stuff, but I couldn't find good workers. I can't even find a decent videographer.
Right.
Everybody's so busy, or they're like, I'm beneath them, or you know, it's just hard.
And but the interesting thing too is you know, I consider you now like we're friends. We hang out when you do come through town, and I've known you for a long time too, and you're always you're down to go to shows. You're down to experience music and art and film and like you're still kind of, it's still a part of your lifestyle, you know. I feel like
very much so.
As you are an artist, I mean, but at some point in time, like, you know, different parts of your life have to take precedent to survive.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. Sometimes it's a little. I'll have to be honest with you. Sometimes it's a little heartbreaking. Sometimes to go to these shows and
for sure.
See my friends like still doing it and bubbling. Like, you know, I was at Thundercat last night, and Flying Lotus is there, and he's hanging out with Dave Chappelle, and like I knew Flying Lotus from the Niggas and White Girls days, and you know, he was just this guy. Me and Chris used to always like laugh at him because he used to wear these high waters and these weird Bill Cosby sweaters, and his haircut was all fucked up. Now he's at the Grammys dressing like he's in Earth, Wind and Fire, and like making crazy movies, and just has a fashion sense, and he looks, you know, very handsome looking guy, very sure of himself, and he's doing it, and he's doing it in the right way.
Yeah, he's doing it in the way, I guess, that works for his lane.
And his lane just came to fruition.
Yes. And,
you know, I still feel there's a lane for me, but I have to just kind of focus and figure out the intent of what I'm doing. And I always work. I'm working on music.
I think intent is like 75% of the game, and willpower, and that then, you know, blossoms into something, you know.
Yeah, but you know, it's great. Oh, shout out to Flying Lotus, by the way, because he saw me in the audience and he gave me a shout out over the mic, and
good. I'm glad to hear that.
That was pretty great.
That's what's up.
You don't have to do that.
No, but he should do that, and I appreciate him doing that. But I
appreciated that, and you know, so I was able to find some people that were in the audience, and
they were like, "What, Kirby's here?"
Yeah, it was great. But it was great, and I think about it a lot. You know, doing this music, how many people I know who are doing shit. It sounds so stupid. You know, I'll be watching TV and I'm with my niece, and I'm like, oh, I know him.
Right.
Oh, I know that person. Or my friend's performing, and you know. It almost seems like a lie, or sometimes I don't even want to say it because I say it so much.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like a lot of people are doing a lot of good things, or I'm in these circles with great people, which I'm glad to be.
And you've moved around in a lot of circles too.
And I just hope I can still kind of be relevant in that, you know. And you know, I've worked with a lot of different people, like jazz, like Roy Hargrove.
Yeah, really quickly, tell me about that, because that song that is on Star, is great because it's like no other record. I mean, maybe the Prostitute EP sort of touches on that kind of vibe because it's a largely instrumental song. What and it's a beautiful song too at that. What was the name of the track with Roy on it again?
I think it was called So Right.
Yes, and it was like a amazing, like kind of house, Afrobeat house type of joint.
Yeah,
and this guy is like, I idolize that guy, you know, Roy.
Yeah, man. I don't know what you want me to say. You want me to tell you how I met him, or what?
Yeah, just how that even came about, because it's such an anomaly. Not a lot. Roy Hargrove isn't necessarily playing on many, if any, of your contemporaries' records, too.
Right.
And it just sort of appeared out of nowhere. And this is the MySpace days of music too, when that came out. So it kind of flew under the radar a little bit in a way, you know.
Well, I guess I first met him. I went to his show in Oakland at Yoshi's Oakland.
Right.
Me and I guess my girlfriend at the time. That was probably 2004.
Yeah, something like
that. And he comes out after the show, comes out from backstage, and Pismo's there too.
Right.
And he comes out and he's like, "Yo, man, where the bitches at? Like, let's kick it." Like, that's the first thing he says to me. Like, he doesn't know me from shit. He just walks up to me.
Right.
He's just like, "You look like you know what's going on here," you know?
Right.
And so he's like, you know, and where's the weed? I need some weed too. And I was like, well, we can go back to my house. I got weed there.
Right.
So we go back to my house. We're hitting the bong. We're smoking weed. We're listening to Dabry. I'm playing Dabry.
Oh, that's what's up.
That
tells you what year this was.
Yeah,
too, right?
and he's like, "Oh, who is this? This shit is dope." I was like, "Yeah." So me, him, and Pismo, and my girl, and I get Pismo probably had a girl too. And then from there, we go out and we go dancing.
Dope. Just hanging out.
We just hanging out. And then the next day, I notice he forgets his sunglasses. And so I text him and I'm like, "Hey man, you forgot your sunglasses, and I'll bring them to you though." So I come to his show and I bring it to him, but I come after the show.
Right.
And I give him his glasses. He's like, "Why you didn't come to the show? I was gonna put you on the mic."
Oh shit.
And I was like, "Well, I didn't know you wanted me to come to the show." And he's like, "But you never even heard me rap." He's like, "I could tell you're good." You know what I'm saying? I could tell.
Right.
He's like, "Why don't you come tomorrow though?" Because, you know, jazz, they play like 3-4 nights. And
sure.
I was like, "Fuck it, I'll go tomorrow." So I went, got on there, I killed it.
Nice.
And so ever since then, for years, I'd see him play, or he'd call me, or I just show up, and half the time I'd just be like, "I'm on Roy's list," and I'll just walk in. Or I see his manager, Larry.
Yes.
And just go in and we rap and do stuff. And one time we did a stand, it was me, Roy, Guapole, and Lyrics Born. And we did like 4 nights, 2 shows a night at Yoshi San Francisco. That was pretty dope. But as far as So Right, probably a couple months after I met him, like 4 or 5 months, I'm at the studio in New York, in Manhattan. I don't remember what it was called. Don't even know how I ended up getting the hookup there or anything, but it was a nice studio. So I'm going there and I'm recording, and the guy says, "Hey, you mind if we cut your session short today?" I don't know for whatever reason. I was just like, "Okay, no problem." It's like an hour or something. So I look over and I see this 2-inch reel tape, and it says Roy Hargrove on it. And I'm like, "Oh, you guys work with Roy? I met him, you know, a few months back. He's really cool. Did a little show with him or whatever." And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's coming in today. That's why I'm cutting your shit short. 'Cause I got to work with this guy." So he ends up coming in. I'm like, "Yo," he's like, "What's up?" And, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "Hey, man, I was wondering if you could do me a little favor. I got this little track. I was wondering if you could kind of play on it." He's like, "You got some weed?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, let's do it."
There you go.
So we go to hit. Now it's his session now.
Right.
My hard drive's not working. It's like, I'm freaking out, you know, because it's not working.
What, to pull the track off?
Pull the track off.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But the engineer eventually gets it going. I'm like, oh, thank God, you know. So, put the track on. Roy hears it, maybe for about 30 seconds. And he says, okay. Then he says, play it again. And then he just plays it one take, and that's that.
Nice. Yeah, that's what's up. And it's an amazing song. It came out great.
What the fuck? I was geeked out, like, you know, and so that was 2004, and ever since then, you know, I just bump into him and get down. Shit, yeah. July. Just saw him last July. I heard he was in town. I just came from Puerto Vallarta from the airport. Me and my friends are on a group chat, and someone just was like, "Roy's playing tonight in LA." And I was like, oh. Went to the venue. He was outside smoking. Came in. He was doing his thing, and he calls me upstage. and I do my freestyle thing. And Robert Glasper comes and plays keys. So he's playing keys, I'm rapping and stuff. Don Cheadle's in the audience. It's a pretty good day.
Yeah.
And then I ended up talking with Robert, and he was like, well, I don't live in LA. I live in New York. I was like, I live in New York. He's like, I live in Brooklyn. I was like, I live in Brooklyn. He's like, I live in Fort Greene. I was like, I live in Fort Greene. He's like, I live between DeKalb and Willoughby. I was like, I live between DeKalb and Willoughby on Washington Ave. He's like, I live on Washington Place.
No
and
way.
he's just like, oh, give me a number or whatever. So it's funny because he was at the show last night.
Oh, wow.
And I texted him. I didn't text him from that night.
Right.
Since July. I never hit him up for whatever reason. You know, I always feel like, well, what the fuck am I going to say to Robert Glasper, you know?
Right.
But I saw him in the wings, and I was like, I see you, bruh. And I saw him checking his phone, and like... But I ended up texting him, and he texted me back like, oh, I just saw a bunch of your texts. I'm on my way home now. And I was like, well, I've been moving around a lot, but I'm around. I'll hit you up if it's cool. And he's like, yeah, for sure. But still, I still don't know what I'm going to say to that dude. You know what I mean?
Hey,
but I got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You kind of have a way of, things sort of just happen in your life too. So you never know. And, I think you're due for something new too.
Right.
You know? Right. I mean, do you, before we wrap up too, I mean, we're obviously having like a kind of a casual conversation. I just love to hear about your life and your career. It's not like you're on a promotional campaign promoting like a new record or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And you got a lot of, you're just coming from Europe too and all that. Like, do you see a new material happening? Like, I mean, besides the, you mentioned the thing with Concepts, of course.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have a partner now that I work with, and we rent out a studio here at the Engine Room in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And his name, he goes by Old Gold.
Okay.
And we have a group we're called Two Capacity.
Cool.
And he's like my musical soulmate, I feel. We're like the yin and yang of the 80s. Like wherever he's yinning, I'm yanging, and vice versa, as far as who we like and what we like and what our concentration is as far as the 80s music.
Right.
And he's a little younger than me, so he kind of keeps me abreast of like new artists.
Right.
He's all about the new scene, everything, all the producers, all the rappers. He's in it. And so our music is very different and cool. Maybe I'll play a bit of it, but
are you rhyming?
Sometimes
singing a little,
a lot. But I'm besides that, I'm hoping to put out an EP around November, and the working title right now is called Selfish Songs.
Dope.
But I don't know if it's kind of. He says it's not a tongue twister, but it's hard for me to say selfish song.
You kind of have to take a beat between
selfish
the two words.
Songs. So I don't know if I'm going to call it that. I like to.
Most people will read it and they'll say it in their mind. And in that regard, it's a little different to say it out loud.
Yeah.
But when you read it,
it looks good.
Yeah, you can make it look good. I mean, I think it may have to involve some, savvy layout work, maybe a little bit, the text itself. But I can dig it. I get where you're coming from with it, for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like I just want to kind of make songs for me. Just not thinking about anybody else, not thinking about the audience. Just really, just songs for me, And a lot of times I do make songs to heal myself. It's very therapeutic.
Yes, indeed.
To make those kind of songs. So I'm hoping nothing gets in my way. I've been just trying to think about how I'm going to hit this shit and hit these beats. Because I can crank out music, no problem, but what kind is what I really want.
Yeah, and you've said a lot in your career up to this point, so it'd be interesting to see you try something new, take a different approach.
And I just really want those. I'm really into making these songs about nothing, or not just the normal topics. Like I want to make songs like a Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, or just shit that's not about myself and not about a particular political angle, or just about vignettes of life, And I kind of want to get into that, like just that real singer-songwriting shit. I want to see if I can get into that with this record and beyond, because I'm fucking 41. I'm not 21. I can't just be making songs about the girls and like I'm grown. Like there's real shit.
Yeah, and you have to speak from that vantage point now.
And I wanted to touch the people of my age and generation and
no doubt
real things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we're dealing with some very serious shit as you age and you navigate, especially in this day and age.
Shit, we might be worried about taking care of our parents right now at this point.
Absolutely.
Like shit like that. Like hip hop hasn't gotten there.
No, you have to, maybe you can incorporate some elements of it, but no, not as a genre itself. In fact, it seems quite regressive at times.
Yeah, it just tries to stay so youthful, but I really want to kind of see if I can tackle that.
I can dig it. I think you should. I think if anyone could, might be
shit. I'm looking into it. I'm looking into it. I love to write stories, and I'm not a screenwriter or anything like that. I would love to do that at one point or write a book, but I don't feel like I have the strength or the stamina for that at this point. But I can box it up in a song.
Yeah, you're a storyteller, and I think you're great at it, man. And I appreciate your time and doing this with me, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for even thinking about me, man.
Of course, man. Yeah, dude, I consider you a great friend, and I love your work. I'm a fan first and foremost. So always have been, always will be.
I appreciate it, man, and that shit never gets old. Any accolades I can get, any people on the street. I mean, this guy got off the UPS truck the other day and was like, "Are you Kirby Dominant?" And I was like, "Yeah." I love that. Oh my God, what are you doing here? I was like in the middle of nowhere, but that shit's great. It's a blessing.
Yes, man.
It's a fucking blessing that people can, compliment me on my talent in life.
That's priceless too. You can't really put anything on that, and that's yours to have.
Yeah. And I love it. I don't know how other people be jaded about it or don't want that, or it's like, I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's great too, man. Hell yeah. Thank you, man.
All right.
Appreciate it. How about that? That was so dope. I want to send a strong shout out to my man Kirby Dominant, wherever you are out there. Also, shouts to Pismo, my man AC. These are guys that I become good friends with through Kirby over the years. Especially, I want to give a shout out to my man CJ Stewart for editing and engineering this and every other episode of The House List. If this is your first time listening, please subscribe on iTunes or subscribe on SoundCloud. However you choose to do it, just subscribe, hit a little like button or a heart or whatever little thing that you can do to help me kind of, push this along. Let's get the word out, I'm interviewing cats that I have great personal stories with, people that I admire and that I'm a fan of. Last week's episode with James Pants is no exception. The week before with Dame Funk and so on and so forth. If this is your first time listening, go back in the catalog a little bit. There's some really great ones that you may really dig across the board. It's not in privy to one genre per se. So thank you. One, I'm going to close this show out with this, obviously the iconic early Kirby D song, Passenger 5150. And when I remember back in the days in 99, 2000, how, and of the many shows of Kirby's I've seen, filmed, and been to, that was like the cornerstone of that time. And it's such a great track incorporated into that general soundtrack of music that was coming out of the West Coast, particularly of the Bay Area in that period of time. So many other amazing artists. It was really such a cool experience to be there, coming from the East Coast and having that context, and sort of just being there at the early stage, not necessarily the beginning, but for some it was the beginning. Like even for Anticon in particular, they didn't even exist even when they connected with Kirby, and then watching that grow was something else too, and everything. I mean, and just those great stories too of Kirby in high school and at UC Berkeley. But I just remember seeing Passenger 5150 so many times, and always just being excited to see him do that joint. It's just such a great story storytelling track. But listen, if there's so many other songs and releases to seek down, if you're just getting into his music, or if this is somehow your entry point into Kirby, I would definitely seek out the Paranoid Castle stuff with Factor. That's his most contemporary stuff, and those are probably the most like readily available. Hopefully there'll be some reissues or re-releases of some of his earlier material down the line. I know that I did look on iTunes. You can find his formal Kirby Dominant releases on there, but seek out that debut, Rapidalism, The Philosophies of Dominant Pimpin', a classic from 1998 is when that came out. Then the more slept on Dominant Mammals, which is like kind of a bedroom project with 4-track project basically with Curb and my man Mocha Only. They came out a few years later, 2000, 2001. And then the more actualized, I think, sleeker Star, which came out in 2006. That was the proper follow-up to Kirby's debut, and that sort of shows you the transition from Dominant Records to Rapidalism Records. So if you're a fan of Kirby, you probably know these records, but if anything, revisit them and check them out. That's my man, super talented, funny, affable guy, knowledgeable, and into all types of cool shit. So yeah, and I appreciate you guys just checking this out. Thank you so much. You have been listening to The House List. This is my weekly podcast. Keep tuning in. I'm going to drop something at least once a week for you. And let's get into this joint, man. Talk about like a time travel. This is going to take me right back to San Francisco, Oakland, Humboldt, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, LA, and all the places in between. Montana and all that, like during that period of time that I was going around to. So yeah, this will be a treat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Peace, y'all.
Good evening. You're about to board StemCap Airlines, where you can bring everything except your brain. Rationale will be left behind so you can find certain enjoyments and different kinds of pleasures. But remember, there is only a 32% chance of you landing. See you on board.
Passenger 5150 is how they enlist me. No x-ray cameras, nobody frisked me. They assumed I wasn't that brisky. Low security maintenance. All they asked me was I know for hijacking planes and ships. I said I did a couple of times last winter. The monitor looked surprised, but he still let me enter. With a couple of dollars and a Walkman in my Jansport. My ticket and immunization records for my passport. There's one thing I couldn't transport. My brain must remain. A cheap price for a long trip, only a fool would complain. The medulla and cerebellum, I gave them up willingly. All I was able to keep was a jar full of memories and past events. Through the red tunnel I went. Gave my boarding pass to the stewardess and asked, where do I sit?
Passenger 5150, 3 hours to your right. You're in luck, you have a window seat. Have a nice flight.
Roam the vessel when the voyage began. No destination time, cause when we land is when we land, and where we land is where we stand. Shit, I wasn't tripping. To be so inexpensive, this flight was so intensive. I found my way down the hall and then to my seat. As I buckled my body, I automatically felt heat coming from deep. Way down in my intestines, my locks felt silky and there was a glow in my complexion. And as I began thinking, this may be a little bit too much, the seat I was attached to became velvety to the touch. Then I began to blush and tingle, felt a sudden rush to mingle with the other passengers. There was only 4 today, a miner who just cut his dreads and 2 folks from LA, and me of course. Smiling with no force, teeth just a showing, and my enamel was glowing. And in a minute we was going to a distant land. Out the window I seen a rotation of the 2 jet fans, and as we began to exhale, the captain gave a little speech about the latitudes and longitudes and the different peaks we might reach. And if he could be of any service, like if things got fuzzy like a peach, he said, holler if you hear me and I'll fix things clearly. With the soothing of his voice, Kirby now felt protected. Since my brain was contraband, I couldn't think any unexpected, but it was there, and I became aware. As the altitude changed and the atmosphere got strange and the rearranged scenery brought out the beast in me easily. The panic button was pushed, running to the cockpit to escape this room of mush. But it seemed like forever cause everything slowed down. But then it sped up again. Fast for it. Rewind. I clawed the walls like a schizophrenic feline. Apparently the stewardess failed to be preparing me for this acute nervousness. Far more dangerous than turbulence, synonym to murderous, and the hours just kept coming. Only thing in the cockpit was an automatic pilot. I was doomed like them fools who choose to soak in ultraviolet. Couldn't keep quiet, too much chaos, pain, and anguish. Went on a rampage, brainstorming in my own language. As I was drowning in commotion, I felt every emotion, mixing in my body like some potion, ready for explosion. Intervals of senseless motion had everybody on the plane wishing that my mama believed in abortions. But so what, it's too late. 21 birthdays done passed and I cut too many cakes. And now I bake this mental souffle, looking at the stowaways who at the exit door about to throw away a parachute with my name on it. Communications relay coded, secret messages about my navigational flight patterns. Destination corrupt. The automatic pilot stood up and said, I don't want to fly. It was the moment I feared. I opened my eyes, but it wasn't nobody near. And that's when I knew that it was really going down. Start placing bets on myself to where the body would be found. But the talk of the town was that I never left the ground. But I got jet lag now, so how the fuck that sound, you know? Passenger 5150 in this world, flying off the land. Ain't never left the ground. Never leave this world without your brain. Never trade anything for your intelligence, for your capacity to think. Do you drink? Yeah, I gotta get up out of here.
Passenger 5150. Don't you want your luggage?
No,
your
you can keep
transport,
that shit.
Your Walkman.
I'm cool.
Passenger 5150.
Man, I'm through all
Passenger
this.
5150.
I'm getting
Passenger
out of here. I don't need this
5150.
shit no more.